I learned a lot. I do feel way more balanced and centered. And I think, like explained in one of the classes, I feel a presence like, oh, I'm here. That's new. So yeah, I did like the class. It was very eye-opening, um, balancing. There's just a lot of tools that are helpful, very
Great.
helpful. I think it's hard to put into words, but I did realize a little bit about um, how I handle the stresses and the way that they show up in my current relationships, although not the same. Um, they don't show up in the same way, but they have the same implication and the same meaning. So I was able to see triggers in that way,
Mm.
which one is when my husband would talk to me like, um, I would I would get the meaning that he was like talking down or mansplaining. And I remember my dad always kind of doing the same thing to my mom, although he was actually doing it in a mean manner.
Mhm.
Um, and it was triggering when my husband would do something of the same, even though that's not what he meant. I interpreted it that way, and I was able to kind of reprogram that and make it so it wasn't so, I don't know, a traumatic event in my body.
Can you talk about like that whole body experience and explain what that felt like and what you did, how you recognized it?
Well, it started out as a feeling in my stomach and it kind of crept all the way up throughout my throat. And it was one of those, I think I mentioned in one of the videos, I noticed at work one day that all of a sudden I was in the break room munching on a Snickers bar.
Mm.
And it was because had things I needed to say. My mouth was moving. So I was taking care of that part, but I was eating rather than talking. So that's kind of what it felt like. It was like I could feel it in my stomach and it went all the way up my throat. And I knew I needed to say something. Or I know I wanted to say something, but I didn't know exactly how. So I was able to use the Nautilus and the three keys and that to help me get my center back and actually feel through, what was going on. So it was one of those, okay, because I was present enough to realize the feelings and how they were presenting themselves. I was able to take a step back and get that pause in there so I could deal with it in a different way
Mm.
versus, munching on a Snickers bar.
So,
It was well, what I did was I took a step back and I was able to explain to him what was happening and also explain to myself. And I think what happened in that instance is I was able I was able to take that moment versus reacting. I could respond
and
and it just it helped diffuse the situation. I didn't get all bent out of shape. He understood where I was coming from because I was able actually to talk about it.
that's huge.
So yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. That's really
Mm,
huge because
mm,
that's a sort of thing like in the moments, you can
mm.
change the moments instead of
Right.
having to recover from the the
Right. Right.
spiral.
Instead of repeating the whole scenario again, where I would get mad and I wouldn't say anything, and then and he'd know I was mad. There was a big fight brewing there, and then I would just go eat something, just whatever. I'm just gonna go eat, feel better. I was able to stop that whole program and make a new choice, which was, yeah, it was big.
That's big.
Just little things throughout the day that, I noticed that suddenly I'm in a bad mood and I'm headed to the kitchen for a snack. It's like I can feel the tension, I can feel the boredom, I can feel those feelings. Whereas before they would kind of like just override me and drive me to the kitchen, basically. I'm able to say, nope, wait a minute, I'm not that. I'm just bored. I don't need to eat that. So yeah, it's a little bit different. I just behave differently.
Mm.
Little teeny tiny things that, if you're not able to be present, if you're not able to be in your body and actually living there, you don't know. You don't know that something else is driving the bus. And you have half a bag of chips eaten before you even realize you're standing in the kitchen. You
Right.
know? So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times we don't even pay attention to it because we don't know what to do with it. And
Right.
so by
Right.
having tools at your disposal, you know
Mhm.
that you can go to your Nautilus, you know that you can turn on your elastic, right? There are a lot of things that you can
Mhm.
do to really shift the moment, which is key because you're in
Yeah,
control now. You have the power. You have options.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there was one exercise we did, and I think I responded to you. That's where I felt more my presence. It was actually, I felt like a coming into myself, into my body. And it was just like oh, wow, this is what this feels like. That's amazing. And I really, people think, well, yeah, I'm present all the time, but it was just different. There was a different presence. So yeah, that was very key. I mean, that was one of the turning points for me as far as, okay, this is what it means to be present.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I do try to focus on being healthy.
Mhm.
I do try to stop eating after 7 p.m. naturally.
Mhm.
I mean, there's things that I do, but they're all things that I've done and haven't worked.
Mhm.
So, this gradual, I know people want to lose the 10 pounds in a week, and I get that, but I understand that's not healthy and that's not sustainable. So I wanted something that would supplement the tools. And this is the part that I was missing because the presence and suddenly eating half a bag of chips, that is a big sabotage. And, well, why am I even hungry? Why do I even want to eat?
Mhm.
Oh, you're bored. I get it. Okay. But taking that time and using the tools to make that connection was one of the keys for me.